Welcome to a galaxy far, far away. Here at the Cantina podcast, we provide top shelf service, including rumors, leaks, news, and reviews. Come in, order a Loman Ale, and remember, no droids allowed. Well, guys, welcome back to another episode of the Cantina here on the LRM Online Podcast Network. I am Kyle, joined usually always by
Cam.
Yay. It's us.
What do you mean usually always?
Friday.
What if I missed one of a Cantina?
I don't think so. I think I know I've missed some, especially after the car accident.
Yeah, but we weren't doing it as often then. Since we started with Mando, we've been sort of consistent.
Yeah, I've had to miss a few, but you know, shit happens. But anyways,
you do a lot more of these than I do.
Yeah, that's true. But you do a lot more writing, so but I have to start today with a complaint.
Complaint,
okay?
Right?
I do.
What are you going to complain?
I don't care where this comes from, like in medium. Like, I don't care if it's a comic book. I don't care if it's a young adult novel. I don't care if it's a children's novel. But two things. First off, Wookiees don't have last names. Never have. Never should.
No.
Like, not in Rebels. Not in Clone Wars. Not in, like, ever. Never, ever. And all of a sudden, 200 years ago, who apparently there was at least one in the High Republic.
Are you sure it's not just like a double-barreled name he's got?
I'm getting to how ridiculous the name is. I'm
Berry Sue?
Yeah, it's Buriaga Agaburi. And that is exactly how they
do you know, it kind of sounds like
say it.
A name from Tolkien. I know you're not a reader, but there was these Puko men, they called them, and they were in the third book, Return of the King, and one of the King of them was called something like Uberaga or something like that. It sounded quite similar, but that was I think that was a two names, I assume. You know what I mean, rather than a one name.
No, this legitimately looks like that. Like I said, this could be, you know, for younger audience, because the High Republic covers the gamut from comics through grown up novels and even like little golden books for toddlers. But regardless, like, yeah. But even if you wanted to play around, that is the most ridiculous. What is that? Is it anagram? No, not a.
Well,
not
that is an
anagram. When you mix up the letters, what is it called again?
Like,
because there's two different types, and it's also kind of like the difference between.
No.
Anyway, we're not in English class. Fuck, man. I just wanted to bitch about the stupid Wookiee shit. Oh, man. There's been, you know, Star Wars today is got an issue, Cam. I'm not gonna say that issue's name, but I will say that there's a source out there that has somehow managed to almost become worse than some of the YouTubers that people complain about. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, so you...
When it comes to like these rumors and things that are hitting the web, from a certain person that used to be
someone
free
who
and
used to be
isn't
free
now.
Who isn't now.
Oh God. Anyways, what I'm getting at is just we've got a lot of rumors out there right now. Again,
Kathleen Kennedy,
crazy rumors.
A global,
it's starting again.
Supervillain who is building a cabal somewhere. You know, those kind of things. Yeah. The stuff that you know that people that dress up in masks say on YouTube and stuff like that. That's what you're talking about.
Things like that and more, yeah. So some of the crazy, and not just that, but also the just the kind of Star Wars version of WandaVision right now, where so and so's gonna come back every week. We hear something else. My local news ran that Daisy Ridley interview with God, I can't even remember, but they asked her about coming back, and she said basically no, in not so many words, but like, yeah, if there was something for me to do, but I don't care about it. And my local news ran it as Star Wars Episode 10, Daisy Ridley to return. Like, and then they go into the interview where, they clearly, she says,
local
I was like, what the hell?
Tabloid papers, they're so the worst for that, because they just don't care as long as you pick up and buy the paper or turn on the TV channel. If we did something like that, we would have no one reading our website within a week. You know what I mean? I wouldn't read it. I wouldn't read it. I wouldn't let anybody post that kind of. Somebody asked me if they could post that headline. I'd be like, no.
Oh no, I would edit that one myself.
All sites we've been accused of clickbait before, but people don't really understand the definition of clickbait. So clickbait is when you have a title which promises something which just is not in that article at all. And you see them all the time in the adverts for these
what I just said.
Exactly, like taking something Daisy Ridley has said, and it'll be in their article, or their piece.
Episode 10, Daisy Ridley to
so
who
it'll
return?
Be like a question mark. They'll say at the end, so could there be an episode 10 with Daisy Ridley? But they've headed it like, is Daisy Ridley going to return to episode 10? This is brand new news. But what you would find is if you ever see a headline like that, go check LRM and some of our rivals, because if none of us have got up that it's some big breaking news, guess what? It's garbage. It's not real, folks. And that is clickbait, and we don't do that. But even though we're accused of clickbait by people who don't understand what the term actually means, hear it. But yeah, okay. And just to go on to kind of like the High Republic kind of side of things a little bit again, because we were kind of talking about this off air, and I think it would be fair to say it's not particularly successful at this moment in time. It's hardly setting the world on fire. Would that be a kind of lightweight way of saying it, Kyle? Do you think?
Yes, it is. It has been looking at across the board. It has been very, very lukewarm as far as sales, and again, it is print, and
I mean, we talked about it last week
how
in
print
our previous episode.
These days.
No one expects it to ignite like the way Mandalorian ignited,
right?
But there's not a lot of positivity about it.
Exactly. And after that, you start looking into actual reactions to it, and it is either a 50-50 of I hate it, I love it, or it's a like a 40-40, I hate it, I love it, with a 10%.
I mean, we haven't read the book, so it's hard for us to be kind of too critical. All we're kind of reading is the stuff that we hear.
Oh, I'm critical about
exactly. Things we've heard, excerpts I've seen from the book, which leads you in a certain direction, don't exactly fill us with confidence. But as we said before, my issue with it is they're writing these kids' books, and I just don't think this is the franchise to do that with. Do you know what I mean? I don't think that lasts.
You can, but
that's something that in 20 years' time we're going to look back at that young adult novel that they released in the High Republic. No one's going to want that shit to canon. No one's going to ever ask that to be turned into TV because the kids reading it, they might like it, grow up. Write a book that all ages can understand, and let people, because they're interested in the Star Wars universe anyway, discover how to write good books. It doesn't have to be like over 18 content, that's not one by adult, but just a book that's written by an adult for other adults to read that might be interested in the Star Wars side. Because guess what, as we talked about before, Kel, you and I grew up reading books like that and it didn't do us any harm. It's if this was too big for us and we couldn't get through it. No, it's because you wanted to know it. We were Star Wars fans and we wanted to know what was happening in that Star Wars world. We learned to read and became readers as a result, and that's how you do it. I just don't agree with the whole idea, unless your book's aimed at a younger audience, like Harry Potter or something like that. But again, Harry Potter could be read whether you were 70, 11, it didn't matter. You could read it and enjoy those books, and whole young adult and even younger aimed books doesn't work for me. It doesn't interest me, and I think it causes more problems down the line because these things are supposed to be canon. So already I'm kind of like over the High Republic era. I don't care about it
That's
anymore, to be
key.
Honest. Do you feel the same?
Yeah. Here's some of the things I've complained about because I read some of the Aftermath stuff, right? I did read several of the comics. I read the entire first run of Star Wars, 70 some odd issues. I read all 25 of the first Vader.
But you know what I've got? I've never told you this before, but I've got an actual comic, a Star Wars comic for 1978,
Ooh, nice.
A Marvel one, and I've got it all like in a an envelope and everything like that.
Yeah.
My sister actually got me it for like a special present. I think it was for like my 21st birthday or something like that. She went and kind of ordered it online and got it and stuff like that. So it's like never really been used. I mean, the story doesn't interest me in any way. It's just one of those things you keep somewhere.
Right.
Anyway,
so I read all that and like the comics actually have good stories, and they remind you of the EU, but you look at it and you realize where they set them at, there's no consequences. Like at one point they even had it where Han was married. Like Han had a wife between the end of Solo, A Star Wars Story, and before Hoth. He had married someone, or before Tatooine. I mean, he had married someone, and it was kind of ridiculous, but whatever. The Vader one, when they reboot it every 2 years, they just say the same shit again and again. So I gave the first arc of the second second series a try, and I was like, you guys rebooted the book for what? It's all the same. Like the best thing was Dr. Aphra, but even that started becoming bland because of how Disney pigeonholes it. To continue, that Aftermath stuff was garbage. Like you don't learn jack.
Yeah, not giving people room. Oh yeah, that was just nothing. It was nothing. Yeah, because they didn't. But what's clear now is that's because they didn't really have a plan for all this. They had to give that story team time to. I mean, what I've heard is that Rian Johnson really loved working with like the story team but J.J. Abrams hated it. He didn't like having to sort of follow suit to the way they wanted to kind of push things, whereas Rian Johnson was far more accommodating, which is, I don't know. And then of course one of the stories we published this week was essentially Rian Johnson saying that, confirming that there was absolutely no it was a complete handoff, to whoever came next. All he said he tried to do was leave some interesting paths to go down, which I think one of the criticisms, even from Abrams' team afterwards, although they kind of denied it after the fact, but you can't deny things that were said and quoted, was that they had that Rian Johnson's film had kind of put them into a bit of a corner with it. So they felt he had kind of pigeonholed them into a corner. He felt he had left them all these open paths.
Exactly.
I feel, you never said that Abrams pigeonholed him into a corner by the way he ended The Force Awakens to begin with, and then he's moaning about it that way. And of course, all he then does is try to reverse everything. We know now that the whole Rey Palpatine thing was only decided at the last minute. That was all brought in just before they were ready to film. They were rushing time, and they just kind of basically, that was it. They knocked out this script and away they went with it. It was just... We
also found out Rey was a no one from 7, 8, and going into 9.
Yeah, that's basically it. The whole Palpatine connection was only dreamed up at the last minute, and I think the reason we know why is because Abrams, I don't think, put Ben Solo in a redemption position by the way he did things in The Last Jedi. I said this before the last movie came out. I said, there's no way you can redeem Kylo Ren now. That was his moment, and then they went and did it anyway, which just kind of lets me think that Abrams just went, well, I want to do what happened before, I'm going to redeem him, but it didn't work as well. So he had to bring back another bad guy to Palpatine because Abrams had killed off Snoke. It's a mess. It's really
and you couldn't have Hux as the main bad guy. You had made him such a joke in The Last Jedi.
It's disappointing, but that's where things went. Shall we get on to more interesting news, possibly?
Well, one second, because I know where you wanna go, but I think it's interesting how comfortable the others in Star Wars, including Ridley
Boyega.
and
Boyega and
fuck,
you talking about Isaac?
What's his name? That played
Boyega's been really critical.
Boyega's been
he's basically
Isaac. There you go. Boyega's been open for a while.
But he was actually quite critical of the way Rian Johnson handled his character in the second film.
Right.
But I would actually argue that Abrams, even went worse with that in the third
and
movie,
how Disney handled his character
Ray all the time.
overall.
I mean, it's become a meme now, but it's true. You watch that film and it's just John Boyega running about going Ray all the time, and then that shoehorned Jedi Force sensitive pish that they just flung in the end without giving it any time to develop. If you're going to make fucking Finn a Jedi, give him time to learn then, so he can be part of events in the finale. You know what I mean? It could have been 2 Jedi going up against, there could have been something like that going on there, or he could have been just Jedi kicking ass in that final battle while Rey was doing something else. But that's the problem with the no plan, isn't it? Nobody knew what Finn was supposed to be until somebody decided at the last minute that's what he was going to be.
Exactly.
And it just doesn't work.
Exactly, and that's what I'm saying. Like people like you and I, and others like us, could see it from the get-go.
I'm not kidding.
People like you and I, and others like us, could see it in
it's just
that there was no plan, right? And yet there were other people that swore up and down either that there was a plan, we were crazy. Look, they're saying they had it planned. Look, Abrams
they always
and Kennedy are saying they had it planned.
Here's Palpatine back, but the evidence is that's just rubbish. There's just too much evidence to counter it now.
Right, and so we sit here and we go, there's problems here. People look at these issues and we point them out, and especially after The Last Jedi, when people like you and me are pointing things out and we get ridiculed, or we don't ridicule the right thing and we get ridiculed for that. and it's crazy.
Oh yeah, I mean, that's the thing. When I was tearing Last Jedi to bits every week on podcasts and writing, because I was so passionate about it, then what I would find is that you would get half the people would be like, "You're crazy, it was amazing." And well, that's favourable. I would say it was a lot less than half, right? I would say it was like 70% negative, 30% positive, maybe, or maybe even 20% positive and 10% somewhere in the middle. But even out of those people who were negative about it, nobody could ever agree about what it was. That was the thing, So I would say, here's the issues I have, and somebody else would go, actually, you're talking rubbish, Cam. That wasn't an issue. This was the issue. And you're like, well, it's
exactly,
opinions, man. It's opinions, you know what I mean? At the end of the day,
the thing is now is it's all coming out, not just the drama of some of the stuff that Boyega's pointed out, but the story stuff that we've pointed out. It's coming out from the sources themselves.
Have you noticed how little J.J. Abrams has ever been interviewed about anything since that movie came out, and never really said anything about it since after the initial promotional kind of period when he was talking about it? He's just been dead silent on that. So, because obviously the reaction's not been good, do you know what I mean, at the end of the day. And I think he believed his own hype after The Force Awakens. I think that's what it was. And I think he managed to get lucky in a lot of ways with The Force Awakens, and it wasn't too bad a movie. But as we've talked about a million times, a lot of the problems in this trilogy happen in his first movie. It's the way that he set things up without a plan that causes a lot of the problems.
Yep, they should have, because it was going to be such a dangerous undertaking. I mean, you purchase in 2012 and you release your first film in 2015. They should have pushed it off another 2 years. Episode 7. Yeah.
I think prequels were shit. We just won't do that.
Yep.
See, as long as we don't make films as bad as the prequels, we'll be fine.
That's
so
what.
Let's, not too much CGI, and they had all these things in place. Let's get, everybody likes J.J. Abrams. Let's get him. I've heard he's a huge Star Wars fan. And did you like the prequels, J.J.? He probably said nope, didn't like them. Yeah, you're hired. There's probably some sort of situation like that going on, and of course, Abrams comes in and throws out George Lucas's plan, which pisses off Lucas, and I'm not going, because we've talked about this before, so we're not going to get into the ins and outs of that again. But that was still, of course, we didn't know that at the time, but did that not ring any alarm bells with Disney? That they should just, let's just not push ahead quite as quick with this. That's what I mean. Not necessarily let's cancel it, get somebody else in and give them the same time scale, but just to set things back a little bit. Instead, they thought they could do what they do with Marvel: set a date, write the movie, boom. But in Marvel, you've got Kevin Feige making sure he was hiring the right person, making sure it works. And even then, he didn't get every single movie right. Some of them weren't that good, But Star Wars, people had a lot of time for the MCU and a lot of forgiveness because we hadn't really had anything like that before. And the good always outweighed the bad.
Yes.
You never got a stinker. Yeah, very rarely. Even if you say Thor: The Dark World is a pretty crap film, I think. The original Incredible Hulk film's pretty crap. But they're not stinkers. If they were on the telly, I could sit and watch them, do you know what I mean? But if Rise of Skywalker come on telly in one Christmas, I'd just turn it over. And I'm supposed to be this big Star Wars fan, but that's it. I mean, I watched it once in cinemas. Once when it came out on Disney Plus, just because I thought, right, I needed to watch this one more.
Yeah, with you. And there was a period there was a period of time where I, in middle school, almost like a security blanket, watched my VHSs on repeat every night, basically. Yeah. And each night I would just switch out the movie.
Used to do. If I was bored, if there was nothing on the telly that I wanted to watch, because we didn't have satellite TV and like that, but I got a little video player in my, like a little TV with a video player, and I had the Star Wars films and the Indiana Jones films, and all my real favourites, and I would just watch them. If I had nothing to do, I would just bang on a Star Wars film and watch it. And when I was a kid and I had them in tape, and again, there wasn't much to watch, like for us in the telly. So if my mum was busy and I get the chance to use the one telly we had in the living room, I would bang in that Star Wars tape and watch that and act it out and play with my figures.
Yep, exactly. And speaking of the OT, and characters that are timeless and great and will had a name and earned their name and all that good stuff. Obi-Wan Kenobi. Tell us some things about him, Cam.
Well, the rumour started yesterday from the Illuminati that McGregor will be playing Obi-Wan in Andor. Not just like a scene, but some sort of recurring role. Now, I've been unable to confirm this yet. One of our sources has knocked out of answering any questions at the moment.
Yeah.
I've still to hear back from another one. So I don't know.
I'll say this, Cam. It's very, very interesting when we ask people something and they respond with a so how about them Cubs? Or whatever equivalent, it's kind of like, okay, got you, tracking, I'm not asking anything else.
But two different sources to her, different sources will different levels about what they are allowed to tell you, what they think they can't tell you, and what they're prepared to push the boundaries on. So without getting into too many details, you just have to respect that.
Exactly.
All we can do is ask questions, and we
talk
know
about the Cubs.
We know both our sources' information, where they come from, and why they know information. So we're happy with that, and ultimately, it's up to them to decide what they're going to tell us rather than the other way around. So sometimes when we ask questions, we get a response. Sometimes when we ask questions, they just decline to respond to that. But I've still to kind of hear back from one. So we'll wait and see what kind of happens on that, because I would like to kind of try and get some clarity on it. I know that TRT covered it, and we trust those guys' information because it just checks out too often and matches our own for it not to be true. But they when they were talking about it, they were like, yes, this sounds plausible, this sounds like a really good idea, but it didn't sound to me like they had heard any information in the background that would confirm it. They were just talking about the rumour. So I'm always kind of wary because the Illuminati are kind of new, and mostly they've been covering sort of like MCU scoops, Power Rangers scoops, stuff like that at the moment. Pretty good track record on there, I have to say, so far. But I've not really got anything to measure them against in Star Wars. And without getting into details, because I won't do that about our competitors, there's some people who could be great for Marvel information and a bit dodgy for Star Wars information, and vice versa sometimes. We don't really have a foot in the door on the Marvel one ourselves. We are purely the kind of scoopage wise and sources Star Wars at the moment, but you kind of have to build a reputation, I suppose. So I'm not saying, all I'm saying is that, it'll be interesting to see if this comes out, because then, Illuminati will start to kind of sit up and take notice, say, okay, these guys have, I've got a good source within maybe Lucasfilm or something to do with Star Wars that's giving them this info. So we shall wait and see how that one pans out. However, what do you think about the idea? Let's just pretend it is true at the moment and Obi-Wan is going to be in Andor. What do you think about it? Okay.
It kind of gives me a hope of sorts, because
I hope in what way?
I didn't want Obi-Wan to necessarily be all set on Tatooine, and if he's off planet here,
I know there's some fans that seem to want that. Like there's some, I think we need to talk about that, because there's some fans that, you know, are adamant that Obi-Wan should never have left Tatooine from the time we see him in Revenge of the Sith. You know, being there, he should never have left Tatooine. And I never got that impression that he would never have left Tatooine. You know, he was watching over the boy. If he had to leave for some reason that was in the interest of what he was doing there, which was looking after Luke, maybe throwing Vader off the scent, for example, or something like that, you know, that would make absolute sense to me.
And he would have been able... The only thing that
worries me...
I was going to say he would have been able to tell Owen, hey, now would be a good time to go check out, you know, the other side of Tatooine for the weekend.
Well, I don't know
one oasis is or some shit, you know, something like that.
I think Owen would probably just ignore, to be perfectly honest. You know, he doesn't seem to want Obi-Wan kicking about anymore. It kind of feels like Obi-Wan's watching him from afar. But at that point, if Luke's just living a normal, you know, moisture farmer's life and nothing's very interesting happening, you know, and there's some reason, that the only kind of caveat I would have is that there needs to be an important enough reason to get Obi-Wan off Tatooine. And like, people have said, like, could he be part of like the Fulcrum program, you know, which Ahsoka kind of helps set up in Rebels, and you know, has a connection to Cassian Andor as he moves into Rogue One, which probably leads us on to our next point as well, which is KRT had hinted that they thought there was a good chance Ahsoka herself could show up in Andor, but again, I don't think that is a scoop from them. I think it's them just speculating because of the fact that they have heard, which we've heard as well, that Ahsoka, i.e. Rosario Dawson, has a multi kind of project contract. But that to me would have been for like Ahsoka, maybe Rangers, maybe another season of The Mandalorian, and then whatever comes next after that. I just never imagined them going back the way. But Ahsoka makes more sense being in Andor than Obi-Wan does to me. The one thing I would be happy enough with is if it was by holo message, like communications between Bail and Obi-Wan. Do you know what I mean? Because it's like picking up a phone. They could still talk to each other even though they were kind of separated. Now,
I know Mon Mothma's actress is the prequel and Rogue One actress is coming back for this. Is Bail Organa?
Not heard that yet, but I would hazard the guess. Jimmy
without
Smith
him, there's no point.
Never come back. If you ask him, I think he would just jump at a chance to come back and play Bail Organa.
Yeah.
He doesn't look that much different than he did when he made Rogue One, let's be honest. So it's kind of the ideal time to do that and just have him look like he did.
And he has to be the one to bring Obi-Wan in on it. It doesn't make sense elsewise.
Remember that Mon Mothma says to Bail, "What about your Jedi friend?" Do you know what I mean? So she's aware that there's something, and I always felt like, you know, Obi-Wan had maybe helped Bail out at some point in the past. Do you know what I mean? There was maybe some emergency, and I heard a really good theory, right? Because from what we had kind of heard, it was as if like a lot of the plot, because Hayden's so heavily involved and Darth Vader's heavily involved, would be Darth Vader hunting for Obi-Wan. And one of the some of the fans had actually said, what if Andor is a sort of trying to work out who this Darth Vader is kind of thing, trying to establish who this new leader of the, you know, Empire, second hand, you know, and then realising the threat to Obi-Wan and kind of having to tell him. Now obviously Obi-Wan would know the name Darth Vader as Anakin instantly, you know what I mean, because he was using that before they fought. And I think Obi-Wan, I said that just feeling and say, oh, maybe Obi-Wan thinks Anakin's dead. I think by the Force itself, Obi-Wan knows Anakin's not dead when he leaves him, and he knows he's not dead going forward, because if he was dead, you know, that would change the kind of dynamic of everything that him and Yoda are doing. So I think Yoda and Obi-Wan are fully aware of who Darth Vader is, but perhaps the likes of Bail Organa and the Rebellion are not. Do you know what I mean? And it could be something that do that links these shows together. So almost like Andor has some Easter eggs that go into Obi-Wan and then come back, and then we might find out more, because it looks as if we're going to get an Andor season 2 as well, doesn't it? At the moment,
seems so.
So there could be then more from Obi-Wan getting involved with whatever happens in Andor season 2 potentially, but I just hope they keep it to the minimum, you know, other than his own show, obviously, which is completely focused on him. I don't want him hitting, you know, being involved with the rebellion, fighting Darth Vader 500 times, and then after it he just goes back and chills it in Tatooine again, checks in and look, he's still alright, and goes off on his next mission. You know, that doesn't feel right either. You know, I think there's a somewhere in between, there's a medium ground between the fans that want him to have sat in Tatooine and never moved for 20 years and the fans who kind of think he could have been off doing whatever. I'd like there to be some restraint and some middle ground there. Does that make sense?
Yes, I agree. He needs to only leave for specific reason. I know some people were looking for a more like how Mandalorian uses the duality of American Western and samurai films. There's been a lot of people that wanted Obi-Wan to really be like a Ronin film, like a, you know, lone swordsman. He deals
with some villain
on
or some
Tatooine.
Stuff, do you know what I mean?
Protecting.
Doesn't even use his...
Yeah, and, but that seems so boring.
Seem a little bit boring, actually. And I wonder if there was something like that as what was there originally. You know, just some very one-off Bourne thing, and when they rewrote it all, which we know happened, that they kind of jazzed it up a little bit, because I don't know about you, but
so.
See, when we heard they were rewriting the scripts, it wasn't until after that we broke the story about Hayden. So to me, you know, this is just a guess, I don't think Hayden was really in that original script, and you know, when they've then went and gone, right, we're going to change this up and we're not happy with the scripts, that's when they've then went and tried to, you know, obviously sign up Hayden Christensen to come back, which we know 100% is official now.
I still look. First off, we know Christensen would never voice Vader through the vocalizer, right? So we know that. Number two, we know that he wasn't tall enough and had to have a special suit built to be in it for such a short fucking period of time.
He wanted to be in it and do the physicality of it as well, which I think he did well, because you didn't really notice, I don't think, that was a smaller person in that suit. You know, I think they did quite a good job of that.
Right, but it wasn't. It's not necessary.
It's not necessary because, so we get 3 movies when you start before Christensen was even around. Do you know what I mean? So of course it's not necessary.
Right. So that means that they must be wanting to do things with him in his back to tank, in his meditation chamber. They're wanting to spend time with an unmasked
That would make
Vader.
Sense to me.
Do you think that this is part of preparing us for the eventual passing of James Earl Jones, and the fact that, you know, Vader is going to have to be voiced by someone else in the future?
I don't think that really matters to Hayden Christensen or his situation, because it wouldn't be him. Actually,
no, not that he would end up doing. Just that they're trying to change the image of Vader with the mask and that voice to where it's we can accept more versions of Darth Vader. That's what I'm trying to say.
Apparently, and I think they'll continue to do until he can't do it anymore, because it's just voice work. It's close.
Which is close. He sounds so weak in Rogue One, sadly. And I don't mean
they need to get the right
it's not
person
an
to do
insult
it,
that he's old.
There are some decent voice actors that have done Vader outside of James Earl Jones. The simple fact is, there are far better people you will find on YouTube than any of the people who did it. You know, if I was going to find somebody to replace Vader, it'd be whoever could do the best James Earl Jones, not, you know, who's a good actor, really, even. Do you know what I mean? Because I'd almost, since it's a purely voice role, I'd be like, listen, you're the best person I can find in the world at doing a Darth Vader voice. I'll teach you the rest. And this is your job for the rest of your life.
A good starting point would be Kevin Michael Richardson did Trigun in Teen Titans and the Shredder in the 2012 Ninja Turtles.
I've heard some guys in YouTube series, you know, that have just people that have practiced it themselves, you know, and some of it's a lot better than what I've heard in the animated.
He's just got that really good deep bass voice to start with, like James, and he's a voice actor.
Deep bass, you know, to begin with. You can't fake that. You just are not for long, and sound competent doing it. Do you know what I mean?
So let me ask you. So like I said, I think it's to kind of get the audience used to multiple versions of Vader so that they can use Hayden in future projects if they want to, whether it's print, game, or animation or live
unless
action.
It goes back to these past,
but
I think there'll be flashbacks to during the Clone Wars and Kenobi, absolutely. And I think that's why they want the main reason they want Hayden. But once he's in the suit, I mean, how much more do
That's
we
what I was
need
going to ask you. What do you think the main reason is?
Vader now, if we get, you know, Vader is part of this, you know, show, is there any more of his story left to tell? You know, the only time, again, it goes back to the sequel trilogy being shit, but where we should have seen Hayden Christensen was as a Force ghost, I think, speaking to Luke. I mean, if Hayden and Yoda had showed up to speak to him at the end of The Last Jedi, that would have been far more. And, you know, it was actually Hayden's Anakin ghost that did the lightning. Do you know what I mean? Because Chosen One and everything like that, you know?
I still hate the idea of Hayden Anakin ghost. I do. I stand against that.
I think
that
it
with
could have
every
worked better
ounce of
if
my
they, you know,
being.
if they explained the reason for it. Even though there wasn't a reason for it, that it was, you know, it was how Luke pictured them. You know, show him appear a few different ways. You know what I mean? Show him appearing almost as Darth Vader and saying that it's how you picture us, not how we choose to appear. You know, and that would have, you know, let us maybe see things a little bit differently.
I could accept that, but we know that wasn't the established idea. The established idea was that Vader was redeemed. Vader became Anakin Skywalker once again, fully redeemed to the light side.
Really, that's all it was. And try and
I can't fucking stand it.
It was a good move, but you know, Hayden now is a lot older. You know, you do him up with some makeup and stuff like that, and he can look like that kind of person now. Almost like him to wait till he's about 50 and then reshoot that scene and bang it into the end of Return of the Jedi, so it just looks like an older person and we can do away with the silliness of him going back the way. That would actually please me.
I agree. I will support
as one change
I will
that we
support
can't have
that
now, but we would actually
I'll tell you, I will if Disney, God, please, they won't. I almost bet there's a contract clause saying they can't. But if they would remove the in Jedi High and the age up the Anakin ghost, I will buy the Blu-rays and I will start watching them.
Yeah, as we've said many times before, there's some good things they changed, but there was also some really bad ones, and it's hard to some of the bad is worse.
And you know, for shits and giggles, bring McDermott back real quick and have him redo the shit he did for Empire in the shitty ass Revenge of the Sith makeup. You know, real quick, let's refilm what you filmed for Empire, but again, cut out the part where Lucas basically gave away the farm in the scene with the Emperor and Vader outside the asteroid field.
He gives the game away in the Empire in the current version. I think I'm going to have to disagree with you on that one. He says the only difference is, and the originally he says simply, the son of Skywalker must not become a Jedi. In this one he just says, I have no doubt that this young Jedi was the offspring of Anakin Skywalker. How is that possible? Search your feelings, you will know it to be true, which is basically just the same as what he said before. I wish they'd just kept it the same, because the actual dialogue is better in the original version, but I also hated Emperor Monkey Face. Clive Revel, it's not his fault, he'd done a good job, but he doesn't look like the later Emperor, so I'm glad they changed it, and I don't even mind, it's not great.
Oh, that makeup's so terrible. The neck and everything.
But I really didn't like that they had to change the dialogue. I never quite understood it, but I don't agree with you that gives the game away when you watch it. I don't think so.
I think it gives.
I don't think you can look at that.
I think it gives
exactly. I don't.
But
think
maybe
you
that's
can
because
look
I
at
already
that
know.
with a proper perspective. You'd really need to let somebody that's never seen the movies before watch that, and good luck finding somebody that doesn't know fucking Anakin Skywalker's Darth Vader now. You need to get in your DeLorean and go back to 1981 or something like that.
Is there that is an interesting point. I've never done an audiobook all the way through before. Okay. I got a free audiobook token from Amazon for Audible, and I used it on the 20th anniversary edition of Heir to the Empire by Timothy Zahn, the original first book Thrawn trilogy. And it just kind of, like, listening to it, it's all right. It's weird. I don't know that I'm ever going to do this again, but it reminded me of surprises throughout the EU. Surprises like a creature that can negate the force on the planet Merkur. Surprises like Luke being cloned and by the Hand, and having that lightsaber from Cloud City. Surprises like Chewbacca dying. Surprises like Darth Vader's Force Ghost, Anakin's Force Ghost appearing to Leia while she was pregnant with Anakin, I think, or maybe with the twins. I can't remember, but like, he goes to talk to his daughter, her, and stuff. All these awesome surprises, and then I look at the sequel trilogy, and it's like, I never felt surprised. I never had a Marvel moment with the sequel trilogy. There's some good stuff in Rogue One, and then the greatest moment in Star Wars Disney era came on a TV show. I'm just frustrated with Star Wars because there's so much availability between games, comics, streaming, movies, like everything that we have today for a brand new EU, and they waste it on Battlefront 1 and 2, and then the flying fight part of Battlefront for a game, and then Battlefront Light meets Fortnite, and
Yeah, but that's changing now because there's so many different
distributors
and developers who are getting to work with a license now. Do you know what I mean? So there's a whole load of new
hopefully
games developed. So we'll see
hopefully
how it goes, you know.
Exactly, but it's been frustrating, right? Don't you feel frustrated at the lack of
the least frustrating
cohesive story?
Watching the Mandalorian because it was good. It's the first time I watched some Star Wars that was good since I was a young man, to be honest.
And it felt like it connected to what you had seen before.
It added to the world building, good characters, what's not to like. So before we kind of finish up, we do have to talk about our own scoop that we published this week, which was about the whole Gina Carano situation. And what we've heard from our source is that in order to sort of minimise the amount they're kind of going to have to change things for Cara Dune, they wanted to kind of go for someone that they could basically just slip right in there, and it wouldn't need not a new character that would need a lot of backstory. So they're looking at bringing in one Hera Syndulla, who is a pretty popular character, especially amongst obviously Rebels fans, since the character was one of the main roles within Rebels. Mm-hmm. And I don't know if you know this, Kyle, because you didn't watch Rebels, but she also has a son. And do you know what her son's name is? Jason, with a C. Jason Syndulla, and he is potentially more sensitive because his dad was Kanan, who obviously got killed before he was born, but who was a Jedi and helped train Ezra and stuff like that.
No, they didn't. Oh God. So wow. Yeah. So Kanan's a human, isn't he?
Yeah, he's human. She's is it Twilight?
Whatever.
It's Twilight. Yeah, she's Twilight. Yeah.
You couldn't. You could have relations. She's Twi'lek. You could have relations in the EU by all means. There were plenty of interspecies relationship. It's one of my favorite parts. And you read the first X-Wings books. It's like the greatest thing Mike Stackpole does is that conversation with Gavin Darklighter about his attraction to a seer. Anyway, the Botan female, and then his conversation with Karan Horn, when everyone's like, oh, he dated was it a Duros or something like that, and to have the conversation
it comes down to biology
about the physicality of it. But they made it explicit that you can't breed
and they went into that, crossbreed species and stuff like that. And so it seems now with Star Wars, that's the first time I'd kind of heard it anyway. But we don't really know much about the characters appearing in something else. I've heard rumoured as well, but
She was in Alphabet Squadron, which takes place at the end of the Galactic Civil War, where she's a general.
So she's quite high up, so instead of maybe having, maybe she would be a commander or something like that at that point, I don't know. But I think it actually, from what I'm hearing since we kind of released the script, most of the fans have said this is a upgrade. Do you know what I mean? To go from Cara Dune, no offence, to getting a good actress in to play Hera Syndulla is absolutely an upgrade.
I mean,
and I suppose you don't really know the character.
Reverence for her from
Hera's a
Rebels,
good
so
character, to be
I
honest.
can't make. I can't make anything off of that. I can say this. She's and I'm reading from Star Wars Newsnet's review of the latest Alphabet Squadron book, which, by the way, Disney fuck you guys for your stupid ass squadron name there. But anyway, Hayes, she's a General Syndulla is in command of the former Star Destroyer Deliverance. It houses several other New Republic squadrons. Squadrons fans look sharp for some shout-outs, but she sees Alphabet Squadron. No fucking Star Wars person would ever name their squadron that. Spearhead for any attack against Shadow Wing. Where? My God, this is why I don't have any interest in reading.
Yeah, I mean, that doesn't sound too interesting.
The modern
to me
books,
either, but
guys.
I do like Hera as a character.
How is she supposed to go from that to being what we think Rangers of the New Republic will be?
Well, we don't know, because we don't really know anything about what Rangers of the New Republic will actually be. So it's really hard to say.
Well, no, I'm saying if because we know the type of character that Cara was, which means
Hera are completely different characters. Absolutely, do you know what I mean?
Right,
so
and that's what I'm saying. So
rewriting 100%.
Exactly,
you know, absolutely. But I think you're going to be doing that anyway, even if you brought in a new character. And just, hey, this is the new Marshal. She replaced Cara Dune. What happened to her? Dodgy airlock. But we got this new girl. I don't think would work very well to me. But as we've said before,
like I said, they should just recast. But
I'm gonna recast as well. But
yeah, because like I said, now this is another example of where
Cara Dune. So that's all I'm gonna say.
Right, and that's cool, and I hope it's awesome. But I'm just gonna point out that this book takes place not too long before Mandalorian. Because
times have changed a little bit in the Mandalorian. She could be set up as a new task force, and she could be the leader, and she's sending people out on missions and stuff like that, rather than her kind of being directly doing it herself. And could even be that they bring her son into it as well, Jason.
Could.
And on that front, I just wanted to point out that biologically speaking, the definition for when one species is different from another species is the fact that they cannot produce fertile children, right? That's why, if a donkey and a horse mate and it produces a mule, you know what I mean? That mule is therefore infertile. So, So I'm actually fine with it as long as they themselves can't then have any other kids. Because biologically speaking, that means biologically they are the same species. If you can mate with something and produce a child which can then go on and mate again, you are the same species as the person you mated with to begin with. That's just biology. That's the definition of species. You can't get around about that. So it's probably just people writing these things that have no idea how biology actually works and where we even get these names or terms from. But yeah, it does work as long as you
why they had to have a kid. Why did they have to have a kid?
It was kind of important
have
to
them
the time.
together.
Remember, Kanan dies, before he's born and everything like that. She only finds out afterwards. So it's quite dramatic how it all kind of comes together, and really we don't see the kid in Rebels. It's kind of one of those things. It's kind of, that's the situation at the end, and she's kind of still pregnant at that point and stuff like that. Honestly, it's not bad.
Thank you guys so much for listening this week.
Yeah, we should probably wrap it up there.
Oh God!
But we don't know how this. All we can tell you is what we get told. At the end of the day, and this is the same source that gave us Hayden, Book of Boba Fett, that Cara Dune was getting her own show to begin with, which has basically been confirmed by THR. So all the stuff that has proved right recently, and they're saying this now. But what I would get from what they're telling me is that at the moment it's not signed in stone. That's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking this is the talk, this is the plan at the moment. without them actually like making a 100% commitment and going out and looking for an
and they
actress
might
to
be
cast.
looking at things like this latest book that came out or is about to come out, and
I don't think that'll matter though, because Hera is a popular character, and if our leak shows them anything, it's that people are actually positive about this.
Yep.
If you look at where people are talking about this, everybody's going, "Yep, I'm up for this. This sounds a good idea to me." So if Disney's reading that, then it should encourage them to kind of go forward with it. That's all I would really say on that. It's not up to us to decide what they do and what they don't. But, if it was just something that was getting flung about as a rough idea, I don't think we would have been told about it. No. So it must be, it must be something that they're really seriously, considering pushing ahead with at this moment in time.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't think it'll be that long before we find out, that Hera Syndulla is going to get cast in live action and have quite a decent role going forward in the Mandoverse. Which I think is what fans wanted anyway. They want to see Hera. It was like, how can you have Ahsoka, Rangers of the New Republic, and not have Hera anyway? So, because, she was as much a part of Rebels, more even so than kind of Ahsoka was. And if we're building up to Ezra and Thrawn, she has a history, especially with Thrawn.
And she's got a Star Destroyer here, so that plays towards the Thrawn stuff, maybe.
Possibly, I mean, up to the New Republic, who commands it. Maybe she's not. She's moved on to another post by then, as I say, and you just don't know.
My whole point was
what the military's like,
was that she doesn't. Yeah, she doesn't necessarily fill the Cara Dune role.
No, I don't think so either.
But
no.
Yeah, so but I hope it's great. I've enjoyed both seasons of The Mandalorian with some issues here and there, but overall very satisfied with that at least. So, and I'll see about finishing this audio book, but it's abridged. It's not the full. It's like,
as I said before,
3 hours.
I've considered using an audio book to get through some of the High Republic stories, but the more I hear about them, the more I just don't really want to.
I don't want to. I thought about that too. I looked at them last night and I was just like, no. Yeah. I was like, I'd rather hear a familiar story than this, because it just, and then what I was just reading, and that's not even a synopsis of anything else in that Alphabet Squadron book, which is called Victory's Price. That's just one thing about one character, and even that sounded dumb to me. And I go read some Legends books, people. I'm not saying that we have to have it back, or Disney, he's not my canon. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying,
Kel's more of a fan of you and me. I would just say, if you're going to read the old Legends books, just don't expect all of them to be great.
Yeah.
There was some stinkers in there as well, but not quite as bad as the stinkers we're getting at the moment.
Hit me up at that Kyle Malone on Twitter for a suggestion list. You guys make sure you check out the website lrmonline.com every single day for all of your entertainment news, needs, and opinions, including the latest and greatest in Star Wars. Please subscribe to the YouTube channel. All of our celebrity interviews, writers, directors, producers, actors, actresses, everything. We're no one's getting more interviews than us, guys. Hit that subscribe button, hit that bell button, so you know when new interviews go up. But also, all of our podcasts are going up there too, and not only that, but LR Mornings is live every Thursday morning, 10 Eastern, 7 Pacific. And Monday, we're supposed to start having LR Mornings be a video show on YouTube, in addition to, of course, an audio version available on the LRM Online Podcast Network, wherever you get your podcast from Apple to Spotify, SoundCloud, and everything else. Cam, what else do you want to say?
Bye. And you can catch me on @LRM_Cam on Twitter as well.
There you go.
Thanks, guys.
Hey, guys. There you guys go. I'm also on Instagram these days at that one Kyle Malone. That's number 1. Thank you guys so much for listening this week. We will talk to you next week. May the force be with you.